Kirk Mayes, thank you for
Orlando.
saying yes to this interview.
Oh man, you know, all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm excited to talk to you, but I got to start. Recently, you made headlines all over the city of Detroit announcing your departure for December 2022.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, you're
Yes, sir.
leaving Forgotten Harvest.
Yes, sir.
You've been here the last 8 years. How does somebody know when it's time to go?
You know, that's a great question. You know, everything does have a divine order to it. And, you know, I don't think it's as much like knowing when it's time to go or knowing when it's time to make a transition. It's always being prepared for any kind of change that's coming in your life. And when it's coming, you should be ready for it like it was meant to be.
So 8 years, you've done a lot. What are you most proud of?
For my accomplishments here,
Yeah.
I would say the team that we have, the place our team is right now, as far as the morale, as far as our focus, the people who make up the team here, their dedication, their commitment to the mission. I've witnessed them like demonstrate their capacity as heroes during like a crisis in our community and held strong. They've been stressed by not only the need to step up to our responsibility, but also, you know, the ambition of a vision to do more for our community. And, you know, they've been working 100% plus, you know, the whole time. So amongst everything here, I'm really proud to have served next to the people that make up Forgotten Harvest.
That's amazing. We're sitting in the warehouse of Forgotten Harvest, brand new facility.
Yes.
I want to ask you about what it feels like to have something go from idea to actualization. What does it feel like to be sitting here?
I feel powerful. I feel like this is one of and the last proof and evidence that I need that anything that we can conceive, we can achieve in our life. And whether it's been through, you know, working through some really critical times and trying to figure out how to pivot a community in Brightmoor, or coming here and dealing with the multiplicity of needs and responsibilities as a leader in this kind of a dynamic, you know, situation. Being able to have a vision through this and take the time to organize other people's minds and visions around where that vision can actually take us towards our holistic mission. It feels good to know that the power to manifest is within my hands. And I'm really excited about figuring out a way to take that to the next step in my future and envision the greatest possibilities for the rest of my life.
Did you always feel powerful?
I've had to take time to grow into feeling powerful.
And what did that look like?
A process of self-doubt, you know.
Kirk Mayes dealt with self-doubt?
Yeah, all the
Walk
time.
us through that, yeah.
You know, I had a conversation. We talked about this before. That podcast I was on with you, or that time we came together with Marlo and Yo Deep.
Yeah.
And I remember having this conversation with Yo Deep when I first like sat with her for elongated lunch, and it was before she introduced me to Marlo. And I explained to her, and we was in Brightmoor. And then at that point, she was like, "Yeah, brother, it seemed like you could do whatever you want to do." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What's that coming from?" And I explained to her this kind of story of what I heard about how they train elephants.
Yeah.
And the nutshell of it is when a baby elephant in captivity isn't strong enough to really, it's still growing, it's still learning about its strength, it's still learning about how it moves in this environment. You put a really heavy chain and shackle on its foot. And when it pulls on that chain and shackle, it's so heavy that it hurts. So the elephant learns not to pull against the chain and the shackle over time, to the point that when you have a full-grown elephant in captivity, all you got to do is put a string around its foot, and it's not going to pull against it.
Yeah.
So I was born with that shackle around my mind and my head and my foot, just like everybody else. But because I also grew up in a household with people, and particularly my mother, you know, who never allowed the shackles that she was born with to like dampen the possibilities of her dream. And even when she felt like her dream wasn't going to be able to get fully accomplished, she kind of was like, yo, I took a lot of the barriers out of your way that I experienced starting in Jamaica with no shoes. So you're going to be in America, you're going to get a full education, and you're going to be able to compete like none of the rest of us are able to compete. And I'm not going to let you look at yourself less than. But you got to be humble enough to know that this world is not going to be fair to anybody who's trying to stick out their chest and act like you better than. So you got to humble yourself, know you got as much of a chance as anybody else, and go out here and do the most you can do. So I've always had this ridiculous confidence in myself that I can do whatever I want to do. And then you go out there every day and you try to figure it out. You know, you have your failures. You got to look in the mirror. You got to face up to like, hey, maybe I can't do that thing. But do I stop, or I do the thing that I can do, and you learn something from that and you go back at it. But yeah, even when I took the job here, I had a bit of like, am I good enough for this? And it was my first boss, my first chair, Joyce General, that helped me realize that they actually hired me here. She picked me because she wanted to make sure that this place had me. And it took some time for me to realize that. And once I realized it, I started trusting in my instincts, trusting in my gut, and eventually, you know, that turned into the boldness and courage to like press for a vision that could be better for our whole community.
Yeah, you've always seemed to sort of be a leader that's, you know, on a cutting edge. I mean, the things you did with Brightmoor and the things that you've done here, how do you stay fresh?
I'm always taking in information.
Yeah.
Constantly. More than a normal, you would probably more than you would probably see a normal person doing. From whether it's reading books, articles, sucking in information quickly. If I hear a concept or something I'm interested in, and go straight to the YouTube on it and try to find the different pathways of understanding what the concept is. And then once I'm really interested in something, I want to know about the entire like linguistics around it, the definitions. I want to really understand it, and then be able to like form my own opinions about it. And then I just lock the information away, and then we be in a conversation.
And it comes out.
Yeah, be a conversation one where somebody be like, you know what? There's a relevant thing that I actually heard about that, and I just love sucking in information and knowing what's going on in our world right now. I think it is an essential attribute for me for leadership. If I want to know what's coming, and I'm responsible for a mission, a big, project or initiative that has to be addressed, and people. Like if the leader doesn't know what's supposed to be coming tomorrow, like whose else's responsibility is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Where does this, I don't know, insatiable curiosity come from? Where did you get it?
I mean, over time. Having an interest in trying to serve other people and do more for others, you gotta recognize that you can only do so much unless you pour into yourself, right? Like the asset that I am to my community is really no more than my perspective, experience, and my skills and abilities, and what I can use those for to offer that to our community. So in a sincere and earnest journey to be the best man I can for my community, I'm always trying to improve myself. And one of the easiest ways I can do that is just by trying to get information and stay humble with it and figure out how it can help me improve, but how we can look at our situation differently.
I love the ownership you take when you say my community. We've had this conversation before, but I love to ask you this question about your love, not only for what you do, because I do think that there is love there, but your love for Black people in the city of Detroit, my community, where you come from.
Yeah.
Why do you love Detroit so much?
I mean, it starts with that same thing, man. I love the people here. I love the people here. I grew up in this place. I was born at Hustle Hospital in 1976. You know, I went to St. Timothy Lutheran School. A lot of people don't know what that is or what it is, but they know 7 Mile and Evergreen.
Yes, we do.
And they know where Henry Ford is.
Yes.
And you know that little church, and you know that other little church. And the first little church coming from Evergreen on 7 Mile was St. Timothy, and I went to school there. And it was a small school, Lutheran school, and it was a part of a community. People from down the street went to the school. My mother drove me there every morning to drop me off to make sure, you know, I was there on time with all of my friends. And a lot of people came from a lot of different places in this community, and it was a microcosm of what Detroit is.
Yeah.
You know, that school, and then going into high school and growing up here and being on the block and being the kid that neighbors would say when I grew up, like, hey, boy, I remember you just running up and down the block and you ain't had no sense. But, you know, I used to run track, so I would come home.
Just run.
And just run. And nobody understood, like, why is this boy still working?
Yeah.
But it was always a part of me trying to always, like, chase a vision and a dream of becoming who I wanted to be. And I didn't know who I wanted to be when I was younger, but I was always working at something. And there's people and stories in my life that make me who I am
Make
from
up the
people
tapestry
here.
that is Kirk Mayes.
Right? Like
Yeah.
and as I go, if I've gotten a chance to go to other places, I've noticed that we're different.
We are.
We're very different. The way we do a lot of stuff is different. And I gotta tell you, I prefer our way.
Me too.
I'm biased. I was born and raised here, but I'm okay with saying Detroit stuff is my favorite. So at the end of the day, I've been satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I'm a tourist, so I ain't somebody that change up too quick. I ain't never had a hat that didn't have a D on it.
Speak on it, Kirk.
I ain't never wore nothing that wasn't Detroit Tigers, Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, Michigan State. It ain't gone no further than that.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the only repping I'm repping. That's as far as I'm going. I'm okay with being team us for as long as possible. And
Team
it
East
is
Side, I'm gonna get in trouble for that. But
I live on the east side.
You live
Now
on the
I
east
gotta
side.
represent, but I grew up on the west side. So really
But
team
you
every
live
side.
you live on the east
I
side.
can only live in one place at a time. But I grew up on the west, you know, and let's just talk about this part, right? Let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah, let's go.
There are west side attributes.
Uh-huh.
There are east side attributes. I love them both. But I was born in the west side environment, so I'm probably more west side-ish when it's all said and done.
You've been adopted, my brother.
Well, I'll take that. Like I said, I'll take that, but,
Yeah. So after the announcement of your departure, you posted on your Facebook page this link to a landing page,
Yes.
IamKirkMayes.com.
Yeah.
And let me read something back to you. It says that Kirk Mayes on the landing page is a consultant, a speaker, a humanitarian, and an author.
Right.
We getting a book from Kirk Mayes?
Right. I got a couple more months to the end of the year to continue to focus on being the Chief Executive Officer for Forgotten Harvest. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Once I complete this role and my responsibility here, there's a lot of things that I've been wanting to do that I could say will allow me to spread my wings and chase some of my dreams as an entrepreneur and fulfilling and becoming the full vision and I think purpose for who I can be in this world. And I think all those things that you see there are part of the beginning of that journey.
Only the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So
I got to tell you, everything I've done so far is just the beginning.
Woo, so you're still becoming.
I am still becoming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what you want to write about?
I haven't even started yet. For real.
All right, so I gotta ask you just some questions that folks really want to know.
Yeah.
Are you running for mayor?
That's not my immediate plan. However, a lot of people have asked me that question, And, I'm not a politician, man. I don't have the ambition to be a politician. I'm somebody who really believes in action and getting things done, not sitting up and politicking and putting signs up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not the linguistic activist. I'm an action-oriented type of individual, and I'm a servant. So if there's some work to be done and I'm asked to answer a call, I don't know what will happen if that comes around, brother. But at this point, I'm looking at consulting, authoring, public speaking, and helping people around the world as much as possible.
Of course. Can I park here though for a minute and ask you about the weightiness that comes along with being called? I recognize that sometimes folks are called to do something that is really against what their aspirations are for themselves. If I know Kirk Mayes, I know that he would take a call to serve seriously.
Yeah.
Are you being called
to what?
Serve as mayor?
I don't.
Or to make a run for it?
I don't know, brother. That depends on if that's a question or request.
No, it's the question.
Okay, so I have not been called as yet.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think what is happening at this point in Detroit politics has, for the most part, moved us forward. I sat down just this week, having some lunch, planning on some things for the future, and took some time and looked up into the skyline and saw all those cranes and saw the development that's happening downtown. And it's really encouraging to see where we've come from. On the same token, I have had some interesting conversations with people as well about our quickness to complimenting Time magazine about coming in and telling us that we some best city in the country when I was on the ground fighting on the front lines, trying to figure out how to make this thing happen. And they, bought a house on Parker Street and took some time to actually analyze everybody's work. They ain't talked to none of the folks I know that was on the ground, but they wrote a cover story about the tragedy of Detroit, and everybody now is just talking about we so happy that Time writing good stories about it. So I'm like, yo, where are the people who was here then?
Yeah.
It feel like everybody that's actually, recognizing that kind of a story is kind of new. If you don't remember how it felt when they slapped us in the face before, nobody want to talk about that. So, there are things that I feel like are still being unaddressed in the old pain that, Detroit's turnaround started with. And, I think it has to be addressed. It has to be something that has to be faced. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm really also at the same time encouraged by all the leadership that we do have with the generations that are coming, behind me. Not necessarily at a certain level. I'm saying I'm at the top of level, nothing like that. But I'm just older than most folks. You know what I'm saying? That's in the work right now. I'm 46 years old, and either I've been here longer than you have, or I'm just physically older than what you're doing. You are. But there's so many amazing people. You're one of those examples. Charity Dean, Dewan Dandridge. Dewan's older than me, but Dewan's impact in the work has been amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we are in good hands. We got incredible talent in the mayor's office with a lot of the team members that are in there and that kind of stuff. And if we get to a point where, my city feels like I need to take on a more active role, then my ears are open.
Okay.
Well, I gotta tell you though, we all need to be paying attention to the world that we sitting in, and not just our city too.
Talk about that.
I mean, the environment,
world that we're sitting in.
Yeah, I mean the globe is in a dire situation, and we don't have enough attention on it as a community.
And what would you like to bring our attention to?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, how many people know that there's been a heat wave and a drought in China for the last month and a half?
Yeah.
That is cooking the place. Food sources are drying up. Livestock are passing away. Emergency measures are being put in place to do things like shoot rockets in the air just to create rain. Literally, this is real life stuff happening right now. At the same time, while that extreme situation is happening, like 113 in the daytime and 95 degrees at night, the Colorado River is drying up. There's heat waves going on in California. All of Europe is going through a heat wave right now. The polar ice caps are going to melt inevitably. We in a situation. And this situation actually, as you look into the future and ask yourself what's coming, none of us are going to be able to avoid the actual impacts of this globally. The prices of our food is going to continue to go up. The ability to be able to fulfill a supply chain for durable goods is going to be tighter in the future. Available land space is going to be affected. If you look at what's going on in Pakistan right now, yeah, there's monsoons that's coming, but a lot of that water is there from glacial kind of runoff coming from their mountain ranges. So that means, like, where does that seep? Where does that seep? This ain't just water that came in for a temporary time. So is some of Pakistan gone right now? And we got wars going. We got a war going on in Ukraine and Russia. Like, what are we actually paying attention to right now? Globally, as a human species, do we know what we should really be actually thinking about right now? In the Star Trek series.
You a Trekkie?
My name's Kirk. So, I mean, in the Star Trek series, early on, you understand that the Federation, right, the governing body, and what we doing out here while we explore the rest of this frontier, right? They had what? They had something that actually was a set of rules that you had to live by in order to make sure we keep galactic peace, right? A prime directive. So the captain walked around knowing that whatever situation I went in, there has to be something that actually goes against the lens of a prime directive. What's our human prime directive right now? Because, I mean, we're all moving at the command of media. So what's really running our boundaries of what we do as a society, and how do we know what we're teaching and passing on to our kids as the most important pieces as you process the information that's given to you? Information given to us through media shouldn't be instructions. It should be information that we should allow ourselves to take in and then compare it to other bodies of information so that we can then make good decisions, right? So what's the purpose of our society right now for the greatest good for our society? The prime directive for the Federation wasn't like a book of stuff. It was like 1 or 2 sentences. You know, and it was all about respecting what you found and preserving who we are, right? And right now, the biggest thing that we're not talking about is the status of the globe. Like, the status of our planet and our impact on the planet is a really serious challenge that we need to actually address, and we this is what we need to actually think about first. This ain't about saving the planet. Earth has been here for billions of years. This is about saving us.
So how do we get people to think about this in a different way, in a more urgent way?
I don't know, brother, but every chance I get, if I can get somebody to just think about it in enough that they can go do some more searching on their own and begin to have these thoughts in their mind, everything starts in our minds. Everything starts in our minds. So if we start with the actual thought, and then it turns into a vision, and we can get emotionally attached to that, then get up and move, we can create anything. That's how humans create magic. That's how this happened.
So this conscious global citizenship, right? That is imperative and that is urgent. But the needs that Detroiters are facing are also very urgent and in your face. What do you ascertain right now is the greatest need facing Detroiters?
The greatest need? A clear vision that they can see themselves fitting into. That everybody can see themselves fitting into. And then we could all get together on one accord and work towards it and swim in the same direction without having to stop, pause, and waste our energy on the things that we're not happy with. I mean, nobody's gonna be happy about everything. You're not gonna please everybody, but if we can all agree that this is the boat and this is the road that we want to get on to get to our destination, and we'll figure out the rest of the stuff once we sit next to each other, agreeing that, all right, these are the compromises, these are the adjustments, these are the things that's gonna really make this fit for my family and me. And when you do that in a way where you can accept that everybody's different and love everybody enough for them to bring who they are to the table, good, bad, or ugly, then we create a vision and picture.
You just said something there.
Yeah, well,
love everybody enough,
yeah,
so that we can bring our whole selves to whatever table that is.
Yeah, that's the only way that we're going to be able to have unfettered, uncorrupted ingredients that God made in order to create a picture together that we can't see with God's ingredients. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we all need to be able to see a way that we can fulfill our greatest vision for our city and ourselves through what we're trying to do here. I know that sounds impossible, but let's try.
Let's try.
Let's try.
We need to always give it a try.
We don't even know what people thinking.
Ooh.
It might be right here in front of us right now.
For real.
Yeah.
Are we asking? Are we asking folks, like, I'm always asking this question in interviews, especially to black folks. Like, what are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about?
Yeah.
Right? I'm finding that it's a question, number one, that most people don't have an answer to, because that's not a regular question that people are asking. Do you think we're asked what we're thinking about?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And we don't actually have many places where we're exposed to the discipline and the priority of controlling our own thoughts. You know, most people have anxiety when they can't find their phone, even when it's not ringing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to miss out on a message or a potential call, or that's a portal for you to be able to get to social media, so that whatever that uncontrolled emotion or feeling that you have, you can get it out, the dopamine or whatever is going on. When I was younger and it wasn't any cell phones even that people had, this is no different than a teenager who's always on mama phone calling everybody. There's that one person that always got to be on the phone, or always got to be outside. They can't sit down and be quiet, or can't actually be by themselves or be with their own thoughts. All right, there's the starting point for everything that we need to concentrate on as a community. We need to get control of our thoughts, our thinking, and the emotions that go around feeling like you got to move every time you got some kind of thought. We got to be able to actually get better at getting into meditative states, whether it's through prayer or whatever, controlling the physical urges in our body and controlling the thoughts and the thought patterns that we're fueling. And you got to appreciate that everyone around you wants a piece of you.
Yeah.
So it's your priority to prioritize yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, because if you don't do that, you will leave yourself in a situation of mental and emotional chaos, where you're just going from one thing to the next, and that big thing that you have to be at, you be there. The job, the event, the birthday party, but how much of this are you really controlling? How much of this was your plan? Yeah, you're following along with something, but when do you sit back and say, no, this is what I'm going to do, and start it with your mental construct and then put your plan down, and then people will come into the thing that you thought of. That's the power all of us have. But whether it's the red and yellow sign at McDonald's, or the whatever blue screen stuff is coming from your phone, or the 5G waves that is thrown in the air, I don't know what the things that we can't see that's going on, but we've been being bombarded by a lot. And the science of marketing, the science of picking up your interests and really now figuring out how to pinpoint, how to distract you from your own thoughts using computers, and then coordinating that so that now every time you go to a place, it can actually predict where you're going and put that distracting thing that is particularly interesting to you to take you down rabbit holes that you shouldn't be in. We need to progressively take some of our time back in our day just to be in quiet space, to get back to a place where you can find peace in your thoughts.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, all of us have the ability to create whatever we want. Think it, and then do it.
Yeah. Man, 4 months left
Yeah.
on this job. Do you plan to do any of that self-care that you're talking about, taking time, solace to be in your thoughts?
Yeah.
What are you doing post December 2022?
So I take time to get into my thoughts every day.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for over 20 years. So the consistency of productivity, the ability to think differently, the combination of going into my thoughts, taking in information from multiple places, comparing that to everything that that's coming at me every day, and reflecting every day. I take time to reflect on almost every one of my conversations, every one of my interactions, all my mistakes. I've been doing this for years, right? So this space to contemplate, create, and figure out what the future is and all that kind of stuff. That's why there's a landing page with things that are actually right out on there to say this is what I'm going to be doing next, because at some point I had to do that too. And there's, when you do these things, there's a certain mystical kind of thing that happens where when you start putting things out there and you start actually working on your inspirations, and you're not just working towards one direction, things start to come to you. You start putting yourself in a advantageous moment to meet somebody that you never would have met, or have a conversation with an old friend that you never would have had, and all of a sudden you didn't know that this person is actually the person that you needed to talk to in order to get to that next step. That's the same. Anybody who's experienced any of that stuff in life, guess what? That's the same way that it works for me and everything that I've actually experienced, and I just believe in it. I believe in it.
Yeah.
And it's how I live my life. So what's next?
Yeah.
Adventure. About to go on some adventure.
Where? Where are you going?
I'm gonna, my family's from Jamaica.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to spend some time with my family near the end of the year, whenever I can get a chance to really just, put down the armor. I haven't been without a significant role for a long time. So to be able to just, without any worries or without any kind of guilt or without any anticipation that there's something big I'm responsible for, something I'm worried about, knowing where my mama is, my dad, my wife, my son, knowing where all my loved ones are, and to be able to sit down. I haven't been able to do that for 20-some years. So at the end of the year, I'm going to do that in Jamaica with my family for maybe a week or two. And then I'm going to Africa, brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Africa for some period of time in the beginning of next year to, fulfill the pilgrimage I feel like every black man, every black person should actually fulfill. I'm going back to the port of no return in Ghana. I'm gonna do my crying. I'm gonna do my discovery. I'm gonna walk through the paths. I'm gonna complete this part of my journey and really trying to be a part of the movement and give myself and serve the movement of trying to liberate, the challenges black people have gone through. And I've never gotten a chance to go to sub-Saharan Africa and, come to peace with where we are today. So I'm going to go there. I'm gonna spend some time, and then I want to see what's up with this citizenship thing and buying land and everything. And I'll be going back and forth, hopefully. But I'm going to go explore what opportunities are to build business in the continent and build some stuff here.
Citizenship in the continent too, huh?
Amongst other things. I'm not gonna give up my stuff here.
Oh, of course
I'm not gonna give up my stuff here. Yeah. I don't even think I'm gonna sell my house or nothing like that.
Of course.
But I want to definitely expand my wings and expand my footprint.
I think you have a unique position where you stand in that you're born and raised in Detroit. Your folks are from Jamaica, and you want to take this, this pilgrimage to Africa. Talk about what the diaspora means to you and how you look at it, how you see it.
Man, so it's like 100 million or so of us in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 30-some million of us in Colombia. Jamaica's only maybe 3. They call it like 2, but a lot of us not counted. Everywhere we go, we share this same story, but we see ourselves different. Mm-hmm. And the greatest opportunity, I think, that we have to reconnecting as a community of people is to recognize the opportunity that is, seeing Africa as the next place to develop and the next place to actually put our energy and our future into. I think as a community of people, it's hard for people to appreciate what the diaspora is, as one connected group of people, because, we have done so well at creating our tribal divisions, even in this culture, context, to then say, you're not really even part of this team, you got this other team over here. I think a lot of people are just ignorant to what Africa is, where the continent is right now, what the opportunities are on the continent right now. And I think the most important thing we could do is just come together as a community of people who have gone through so much and begin to build our own value proposition around what our prime directives are and how we reconnect with, the continent. The reality is the Chinese communities are going in and building businesses for the future. 60% of the world's arable land is still undeveloped in Africa. Everybody else in the world right now, everybody else in the world could stop planting food. And if we just got Africa up to its potential of being able to produce the food that it could produce, it could actually feed the rest of the world right now, right? The industrial opportunities that are there, just things that could make days easier to get productivity or add certain things of quality of life that we take for granted here, create efficiencies in everyday things like moving from place to place or getting your car towed or the flavors of soul food throughout the whole entire place. There's so many gaps that the opportunities are vast, and you're not just going in and putting in like one asset. You can go there and create like whole ecosystems. I mean, it sounds daunting. It sounds like a lot of work, but I gotta ask this question. We sit here fighting for our rights in a place where names like Rockefeller, JP Morgan, and all these heavy industrialists and like captains of industry built this place, right? Now, yeah, we had a hand in it, a serious hand in it. And the truth is, the way that they had to do it in order to get it to where it is, probably a lot of unsavory and unnecessary, things that was probably necessary in their mind to be able to get it right here, right? Stealing people from lands, commissioning boats to be able to get over here, repopulating whole continents and all that. We can go buy a ticket with Delta, brother, and go home. Take the fruits of the economy that we did grow in and take all the education we have and go there and start a soul food restaurant or start a U-Haul or start anything that you got here that you say they don't have there. Yeah. That's the reason why you don't want to go. Go there and start it and become a captain of industry. So, are we going to sit in places that maybe people don't even want us?
Yeah. And
fight for a piece of the pie that, quite frankly, they built, and maybe they built it off our backs, but they built and they got the ownership for it. They got the deed to it.
They got the deed.
They got the army behind it and all of that. And then we got our people over here that look like you feel like it's different than you. Because really, your folks by blood, and we rather stay in comfort than to go do the hard work that they did in order to go build our stuff up right now. And it could be like just a choice. And if it gets to a point where that choice turns into a fight, well, now you're talking about a fight and I'm willing to fight. But that's how I
Yeah.
feel about diaspora. We need to kind of like get to a place where we're looking in the right direction together and we love on each other, but also the continent or the people on the continent in a way that we just start making collective action together. It ain't
Yeah.
got to be big, but we should start making collective action together.
Because we black all over the world.
That's right.
Remember that?
That's right.
Black all over the world.
Yeah.
My last question, I want to hear from you about how you think about legacy, how you think about impact. You are some of everybody's favorite Detroiter. You are decorated, you are awarded, you've done and have had the opportunity to do amazing and big things. How do you think about your legacy? How do you think about the impact that you've been able to make?
Marlo is someone who I think about when I think about legacy, Marlo Stoudemire. I think about it because he was somebody who I met at a time in my life where I didn't think I was gonna ever find anybody that I could relate to.
Yeah.
And you know, he was a gift because his passion was finding more people that we could all relate to. And I wouldn't have a relationship with you if it wasn't for Marlo. I wouldn't have a relationship with Nate Wallace, with Ethan, with some of my best friends in my life right now, with Malone, if it wasn't for Marlo. He kind of pulled me out of my mindset of I'm all in it by myself. So at the end of the day, I think about him and I think the legacy he left on me, and I think about where I started when I started this work. And legacy was one of the things that was one of the driving forces of what are you going to do? And remember, like I said before, I had unreasonable confidence in myself. So the what are you going to do was just like, you want to make some money or go to work for somebody and make them a lot of money with your gift, talents, and abilities? Or do you want to leave a legacy of trying to help your community with those same gift, talents, abilities, and the same thing you would have done to be spectacular for somebody over here? What if you did everything and poured your everything into just trying to serve your community? And this is the result, brother. So I hope, as far as legacy goes, just like Marlo, I hope my legacy is really about the impact, the difference I've made in people's lives. Everything from the stories nobody ever know about and nobody even know about, the phone call somebody had and asked me for advice on something or a favor for something or help with something that turned out that if it wasn't for that, you know, I think my legacy and what I can sleep well at night is knowing that I made a positive difference in so many people's lives that our community is different right now because of it. Nobody else has to know that. I got the proof. And I can sleep with that. I know what I'm looking at. And when you talk about impact, it really is about, for me, ultimate impact when it's centered around people is about how much have I helped someone else to see their true self on my way to trying to become my true self, so that all of our pieces can actually fit together the way they're supposed to fit together, so we can have the world that we're really supposed to have. So any way that I've been able to help somebody have the courage or the inspiration or remove some barriers or blockades or even piss them off enough to be like, I'm gonna prove him wrong. If I help somebody get closer to fulfilling their vision and their purpose for themselves, and that's the only impact I ever tried to make.
Man. Kirk Mayes, thank you for saying yes.
Thank you, brother.
Man.